Hey everyone! Today we're exploring another chilling and disturbing case. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay engaged. It really means a lot. I truly appreciate it. Now, take a deep breath and let's dive in. He told his sister, "If something happens to me, look at Kayla." A week later, he was dead. Jason Romero spent his life saving others as a paramedic. But when he fell in love with a beautiful nurse named Kayla Martin, his world shifted from peaceful to paranoid. He started whispering things to friends. He stopped sleeping. He even updated his life insurance policy and put her name on it. Now he's gone, and the woman who was supposed to save lives may have ended his, because the truth behind his death isn't just about greed. It's about obsession, betrayal, and a love so toxic, someone had to die. Jason Romero, 42, was the kind of man people trusted with their lives. Literally, as a paramedic in Springfield, he responded to car crashes, overdoses, and shootings and never lost his cool. But his real soft spot? His teenage daughter, Alina, after a messy divorce. She was his world. Then came Kayla Martin, a bright, beautiful ER nurse with a gentle voice and a contagious smile. They met during a chaotic trauma shift. For Jason, it felt like fate. She was nurturing, understanding, and seemed to know exactly what he needed. Within 6 months, she'd moved in, to friends and co-workers. Things looked perfect, but behind closed doors, the picture was far from romantic. Jason confided in his sister that Kayla was acting off, hiding her phone, disappearing at night, picking fights and flipping into charm at the flip of a switch. "She scares me sometimes," he told her. April 18, 2023. It was raining when the 911 call came in. Kayla's voice cracked through the line. "He's not breathing. I think he took something. Please hurry." When first responders arrived at the modest home Jason and Kayla shared, they found him cold, stiff, and unresponsive on the couch. A half-full bottle of OxyContin sat neatly on the coffee table, as if placed on display. But Jason had no history of drug abuse. He despised opioids after seeing them destroy families. The coroner's report confirmed what his family feared. This wasn't a typical overdose. Jason had enough fentanyl in his system to kill 5 grown men. Someone had poisoned him. Detectives launched a quiet but thorough investigation. Kayla, surprisingly, wasn't as devastated as expected. She returned to work just days after Jason's death. Her demeanor was detached. Then came the red flags. Jason's life insurance had been recently updated, 2 months before his death, with Kayla as the sole beneficiary. The payout? $500,000. Jason's sister claimed he was planning to remove Kayla from the policy, but never got the chance. Investigators subpoenaed Kayla's phone and uncovered hundreds of deleted texts between her and someone shocking. Dr. Brett Hensley, the chief trauma surgeon at her hospital, a married man, father of 3, and a deacon at his local church. The messages were cryptic, but damning. "We deserve to be free. He's in the way. You have access, you know what to do." Even worse, Kayla had pulled fentanyl from the hospital's drug supply the night before Jason died. Her record set was for a patient who didn't exist. The deeper police dug, the darker the story became. Kayla and Dr. Hensley had been having a secret affair for over a year. They had spoken of running away together, of starting fresh, of getting rid of problems. They didn't just fantasize about a new life, they plotted it, and Jason's death was step 1. Kayla used her credentials to obtain hospital-grade fentanyl. The night Jason died, phone pings show her home, while Hensley was parked just blocks away for over 40 minutes. Text messages place them together in the plan. But Hensley, ever careful, never responded directly to anything incriminating. Still, prosecutors believed it was enough to prove a conspiracy. Kayla was arrested at work 3 weeks later, still in her scrubs. The mugshot that shocked the community showed a woman with no trace of remorse. The case tore the city apart. Kayla pleaded not guilty, claiming Jason had self-medicated for back pain, and the insurance change was his idea. Dr. Hensley denied any romantic involvement, calling her a disturbed employee who became obsessed. But co-workers painted a different picture. Long looks, inappropriate texts, secret meetings in hospital stairwells. The evidence was mounting. Still, Hensley hadn't been charged. Kayla's defense tried to spin a new narrative. Jason had mental health struggles, and Kayla was being scapegoated for suicide. But Jason's toxicology levels and the carefully staged scene told another story. The prosecution was about to introduce their star witness, a hospital nurse who said Kayla had once confided something chilling over drinks. "If I want to get rid of someone, I could, and no one would ever know it was me." Just as the trial was heating up, another shock came out of nowhere. An anonymous letter sent to the DA's office, claiming Kayla had done this before. Another boyfriend, another suspicious death, another closed case with the same cause of death. And this time, there might be a body. The letter was handwritten in shaky cursive and signed, postmarked from St. Louis, over 100 miles away. But the message was clear. You should look into the death of Thomas Greer. Kayla was living with him before she moved to Springfield. He died in his sleep too. No one looked into it, but it wasn't natural. At first, authorities were skeptical. False tips flood high-profile cases all the time. But when they ran the name Thomas Greer through Kayla's known addresses, everything lined up. 5 years ago, Kayla lived in St. Louis for 2 years. And Thomas Greer, age 39, died in his bed from what was then ruled as accidental opioid toxicity. The most chilling detail? Fentanyl was found in his system. 2. Investigators reopened the Greer case. At the time, it was considered an unfortunate tragedy. Thomas was a warehouse manager with no known drug abuse history. He'd reportedly been seeing Kayla casually. According to neighbors, she was living with him on and off in the months before his death. When police questioned Kayla back then, she claimed they weren't serious, just friends with benefits, and that she hadn't seen him in over a week. That was enough for the case to be closed. But now, things looked very different. Forensic analysts re-examined the toxicology report and found the same pattern. Fatal dose of fentanyl. No injection marks. No evidence of recreational drug use. No fingerprints on the prescription bottle left beside his bed. And then came the gut punch. Thomas had also updated his life insurance policy 6 weeks before he died, naming Kayla Martin as a partial beneficiary. A forensic psychologist brought in by the prosecution began forming a theory. Kayla Martin isn't just a killer. She's a narcissistic predator, a woman who finds vulnerable men, convinces them she's a solution to their loneliness, and then, when they're no longer useful, she eliminates them. But Kayla's own childhood history offered disturbing insight. Raised in foster care, she bounced through 7 homes by the age of 12. Her biological mother was a heroin addict. Her father? Unknown. At age 15, she was hospitalized for self-harming and manipulative behavior, including faking seizures and lying about abuse. By adulthood, she had carefully crafted a new identity. A hero, a nurse, a caregiver. But beneath the scrubs and smiles was something much darker. Back in Springfield, the DA's office had renewed pressure on Dr. Brett Hensley, Kayla's alleged co-conspirator and secret lover. He had maintained innocence for months. But after news broke of the second possible murder, Hensley's resolve began to crack. According to leaked transcripts, Hensley confessed to a friend that Kayla had told him, "It's not the first time I've had to clean up a mess." He didn't press her for details. He claimed he was scared of her, that she could ruin him or worse. Whether that was guilt or a plea for a deal, prosecutors were listening. And the public? They were horrified. The woman once celebrated as a tireless caregiver was now being called the angel of death. Then came the final blow. Just weeks before trial, a third tip came in. Another ex-boyfriend. Another suspicious death. This time in Chicago. Kayla had moved there briefly during her early 20s, long before she became a nurse. His name was Michael Landon, and his cause of death? Cardiac arrest, but the autopsy listed unknown origin. He, too, had a small life insurance policy. And guess who was named as a domestic partner? Kayla. At this point, prosecutors were asking a chilling new question. How many men had to die before anyone noticed? And the scariest part? There may be more. because as investigators looked deeper into Kayla's past, they found a sealed juvenile record, a trail of aliases, and evidence that she had changed her name legally at 18. The woman calling herself Kayla Martin may not even be Kayla at all. Detectives digging into Kayla's history noticed something strange. There were no records of a Kayla Martin before the age of 18. No high school transcripts. No childhood address. No medical records. Nothing. Her nursing license traced back to an identity established in Missouri the year she turned 18. Under a name change petition, with a court order, the records were unsealed, and what they revealed stunned investigators. Kayla Martin was born Brianna Lee Hawkins. She changed her name at 18 to escape a juvenile criminal record that had been sealed by the state. Born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Brianna Hawkins grew up in chaos. Her mother was addicted to meth and had a revolving door of violent men in and out of their home. By age 10, Brianna had been removed by CPS 3 times. At age 12, she was accused of pushing her younger foster brother down a flight of stairs. He survived, but was left permanently disabled. At age 14, she poisoned a family's dog with bleach. At 15, she was committed to a psychiatric facility after telling a school counselor, "I see people die in my dreams. Sometimes I make it happen." She was diagnosed with conduct disorder, often a precursor to adult psychopathy. But her most disturbing act came at 16, when a foster father was found dead from an apparent overdose. The death was ruled accidental at the time, and Brianna was never charged. She left the system at 18 and vanished. Now we know she rebranded herself as Kayla Martin, enrolled in nursing school, and began a new life built on a lie. Experts now believe Kayla didn't kill out of rage. She killed for control. Each of her known victims had one thing in common. They made her feel vulnerable. They either threatened to leave, discovered her secrets, or stood in the way of a new relationship or financial gain. Her MO was cold and methodical. Gain trust, create emotional dependence, access the victim's finances or insurance, administer a fatal undetectable dose, usually via drink or food, stage the scene, cry, call 911, play the role of the grieving partner. But now that her past was out in the open, everything was unraveling. The media branded her the Reaper in scrubs. Social media exploded with amateur sleuths comparing her to infamous killers like Jodi Arias and Nanny Doss. And Kayla? She remained calm, unbothered, almost proud. Inside the packed courthouse, Kayla sat quietly, dressed in a beige blouse and black slacks. She didn't look like a killer. She looked like someone's kind-hearted co-worker. But the prosecution was ready. Their opening statement told a chilling story of a woman who used love as a weapon, who manipulated, seduced, and ultimately executed 3 men and may have been planning to kill again. They introduced their star witness, a former co-worker, who claimed Kayla once said, laughing over drinks, "If you're smart, you don't need a gun to kill someone. You just need a syringe or a pill bottle." But just as prosecutors began presenting their case, someone unexpected stood up in the gallery. A middle-aged woman, pale, shaking. She turned to the bailiff and whispered something. He immediately approached the judge. Court was suddenly recessed. The woman was escorted out in silence. When reporters caught up to her outside, she said just one thing. "She's my daughter, and there's more, so much more." Kayla's biological mother had resurfaced, after decades off the grid. And what she was about to tell investigators would blow the entire case wide open, because the truth about Kayla's childhood might reveal not just why she killed, but who taught her how to do it. Owen's brother, Travis Markey, handed the voicemail over to police just days after Owen's body was recovered. He had saved it out of instinct, unsure if it was a prank or something worse. The number was untraceable, burner phone. No call logs, no metadata. But audio forensics confirmed the voice on the recording was a 98% match to Kayla Martin. Investigators were baffled. How did she leave a voicemail 2 years after Owen vanished? Did she keep his phone? Or was someone else involved? That single message reopened a terrifying possibility. Kayla may not have acted alone. Authorities obtained a warrant for all of Kayla's old devices and online accounts. What they discovered sent chills down the spine of even the most seasoned detectives. A folder titled Rainfall was recovered from a wiped external hard drive in a storage unit registered under her alias. Inside the folder were photos of Jason, Thomas, Owen, and Michael, all victims, copies of their insurance policies, surveillance-style images of each man, some taken months before the relationships began, a spreadsheet labeled liabilities and exit plans. But the most disturbing file was a series of audio recordings. In one, Kayla was talking to an unidentified male voice. "Kayla, he's asking too many questions. It's gonna have to be soon." Male voice, "You sure?" "Kayla, you don't have to do anything. I'll handle it, just like last time." Who was this man? Another lover? An accomplice? Or worse, someone still free? One name came up repeatedly in fragments of chat logs and email backups. Dean. No last name. Just mentions like, "Dean thinks we should wait. Dean says I'll never find out. Dean can help me clean." With help from cyber forensics, investigators traced several usernames tied to Dean and found one registered email that had once been linked to a nurse's aide in Tulsa. That aide? Dean McCarthy, a former orderly who had worked at the same hospital Kayla trained at in her early 20s. He had been fired in 2015 for allegedly stealing medications. And guess where he disappeared after that? Springfield. Dean McCarthy hadn't been seen in nearly 3 years. No credit card activity. No registered address. But facial recognition linked him to a background figure in two of Kayla's photos, taken at Jason Romero's house. He wasn't just a ghost from her past. He had been inside the crime scene. Now investigators believe Kayla didn't just kill alone. She had helped disposing of evidence, moving bodies, and possibly even help administering drugs. Dean McCarthy was officially named a person of interest and a fugitive. But finding him wouldn't be easy, because just 1 week before the warrant was signed, someone matching his description was caught on camera boarding a bus to Mexico. Now, as Kayla's trial hits the halfway mark, prosecutors are preparing to drop a bombshell in court. Evidence that Kayla Martin, Brianna Hawkins, may have been part of a 2-person kill team, and that more victims may be buried, missing, or hidden across 3 states. Because Dean McCarthy hasn't just vanished. He's still communicating with someone. And the message they just intercepted, she didn't tell them everything. While combing through storage lockers rented under Kayla's former aliases, investigators found a small black notebook, weathered, water damaged, but mostly intact. Inside were dates, names, and codes that initially looked like nursing shift schedules. But one entry caught their attention. LR 5K quieted. Knew too much. They began decoding initials with dates and matching them to locations Kayla had lived. Nearly all correlated to known victims, except LR. There was no record of a man with those initials among her lovers. But then the breakthrough came from someone completely unexpected. A woman named Lydia Rosewood, now 29, called a Springfield PD after recognizing Kayla's face on the news. Her voice trembled as she explained. "I knew her when I was 14. She was my foster sister. Her name wasn't Kayla back then. It was Brianna. She was not right, and I think she tried to kill me." Lydia had been placed in the same foster home as Brianna Hawkins' Kayla when they were teenagers. They shared a room for 3 months. According to Lydia, it started with controlling behavior, locking her out, gaslighting her, threatening her. Then came the night Lydia never forgot. She made us tea, said it was for bonding. I drank 1 sip and blacked out. Woke up in the hospital. They said it was dehydration or something. But I've always wondered if she poisoned me. Lydia was removed from the home and relocated out of state. But she never forgot Brianna, or the eyes that watched her sleep. And when she saw the news, it all made sense. As Lydia came forward, digital analysts were breaking into one final locked phone recovered from Kayla's storage unit, hidden inside an old purse, wrapped in a washcloth, and sealed inside a shoebox. It wasn't on any of her known records. No calls, no texts, just one encrypted folder labeled Echoes. What was inside? Voice memos, audio journals, and worst of all, recordings of her victims. One stood out immediately. It was Jason Romero's voice. Jason, audio, Kayla, I don't feel right. Did you give me something? Kayla, calmly, just relax, babe. You're just tired. Go to sleep. Jason, slurred, I can't feel my arms. The audio cut out there. The horror wasn't just that she recorded them. It's that she kept it, like a trophy, with the ledger, Lydia's testimony, and the Echo's phone files. The prosecution now had overwhelming evidence that Kayla's crimes were far more organized, methodical, and predatory than previously known. A timeline was constructed. 2007, Michael Landon dies. 2011, Thomas Greer poisoned. 2015, Owen Markey disappears. 2023, Jason Romero murdered. And then there was Lydia, the one who got away. But what stunned even seasoned law enforcement was a recording from 2016, hidden among the files. Dean McCarthy's voice. You know, if you ever go down, I've got my copy, right? Kayla, then I guess we'll both burn together. Just as Kayla's defense began trying to paint her as a damaged survivor, prosecutors dropped a bombshell. Dean McCarthy has been found, arrested at a roadside motel outside Tijuana, Mexico. He was caught with a laptop, and inside it, a folder labeled, "The Rest." There were 197 files in the rest. Investigators expected photos, maybe documents. Instead, they found victim profiles, broken down by habits, income, and relationship status, lists of medications and preferred dosages, bank statements, insurance information, social media logs, location tracking data, and shockingly, plans for future victims. Some files were labeled only by initials. Others used full names. Several were marked with red flags. Executed, pending, unstable, aborted. The spreadsheet included one horrifying tab labeled F23 Live. Inside that tab was a profile for a 23-year-old woman named Marissa Kent, a nursing student who once interned at the same hospital as Kayla, and who, according to the file, had seen something she shouldn't. She was marked risk level 10 tenths. Status unresolved. The last known location for Marissa, missing since 2022. Now that authorities had her name, a missing persons report surfaced. Marissa Kent, age 23, disappeared after a late shift in Springfield General. Case was never flagged as suspicious. Her roommate thought she ran away, but now, new surveillance footage from the hospital archives was uncovered. In it, Marissa appears in the staff parking lot, arguing with a tall man in scrubs. She's visibly distressed. He grabs her wrist. The man matches the physical profile of Dean McCarthy. Later that same night, cell tower data shows both Dean and Kayla pinging near a remote area of Greene County, Missouri, less than 10 miles from where Owen Markey's body was buried. Marissa's phone went dark that night and never turned back on. But the most chilling revelation came not from the laptop, but from a USB drive found taped to the back cover. It contained a single video, an interview. Kayla sits across from the camera, wearing casual clothes, her hair pulled back. She speaks calmly, almost academically. Kayla, there's the version of me that heals people, and then there's the version that makes pain disappear. One saves, one silences, and sometimes the silence is what people need most. The 14-minute video plays like a confession, but it never directly mentions names. It's more like a philosophy, a twisted manifesto. And at the end, she smiles. I know this doesn't end well for me, but don't forget, he helped me. He wanted this too. If I go down, he goes with me. And if you're watching this, you're already too late. In the final document of the rest folder was a name no one expected to see. Detective Lena Graves. Yes, the very detective leading the case against Kayla. Her name was listed under a tab marked Backup Leverage Phase 3. What did that mean? Was Kayla planning to blackmail her, hurt her, frame her? And then came the final entry, a single line buried in the metadata of a deleted file. The daughter always pays the mother's debt. Investigators were stunned, because Detective Graves' mother, she was once a social worker in Tulsa, and 20 years ago, she helped remove Brianna Hawkins, now Kayla, from her abusive home. Now, Kayla's crimes look less like a chain of accidents and more like a long-planned act of revenge, not just against lovers, but the system that created her. And the scariest part? Marissa Kent may still be alive, and time is running out. The GPS ping led detectives to a dense wooded area in Greene County, Missouri. Remote, private, no cell service. A search team scoured the forest with dogs and ground-penetrating radar. Hours passed. Nothing. Then AK-9 unit stopped at a patch of moss-covered dirt near a rusted-out storm drain. Further digging revealed a metal hatch buried beneath leaves and debris. Inside, a ladder leading into darkness. They had found something. Not a grave, but a bunker with flashlights and body cams rolling. The tactical team descended into the underground chamber. What they saw was horrifying. A cot, a chemical toilet, a lock freezer, dozens of prescription pill bottles, and surveillance monitors powered by a car battery. But most disturbing was a wall of photographs. All Kayla's victims. Some marked with XS, some with question marks, and one marked live. Marissa. She was pictured in hospital scrubs, smiling. The photo was dated January 2023, nearly a year after she vanished. And then, from the corner of the bunker, they heard it, a sound, scratching. In a side chamber, hidden behind a false wall, they found her. Marissa Kent, alive, barely, emaciated, shaking, but conscious. She was curled on a mattress, in what looked like a makeshift holding cell. Shackles at her ankles, 4 bags, a diary beside her filled with fragmented thoughts. She said, "I was a witness. I knew too much." Said she couldn't kill me yet. Dean visits with food. Says, "Not time." Marissa had been kept alive for nearly 2 years. Drugged, controlled, silenced, but not killed. Not yet. Back at headquarters, Dean McCarthy cracked during questioning. He admitted to building the bunker, monitoring Marissa, and helping Kayla stage her murders. But then he dropped a final bombshell. She wanted to keep Marissa as a backup plan. If the trial went bad, she planned to trade her for a deal. Kayla never got that far. But in her mind, even her victims were bargaining chips, not people. And when she was confronted with the truth of Marissa's survival, Kayla simply smirked in court. Judge, "Ms. Martin, do you have anything to say?" "Kayla, I saved her life, just not the way you like." Kayla Martin was found guilty on all counts, including the attempted murder and unlawful imprisonment of Marissa Kent. Dean McCarthy entered a plea deal for 25 years in exchange for full testimony. Marissa, now 25, is alive but permanently scarred. Her story has inspired legislation around medical field background checks and tracking of fentanyl access among healthcare workers. And as for Kayla, she was sentenced to life without parole, still smiling, still unrepentant. Her final words to the court: "I never promised to heal everyone, only to help them rest." They trusted her to save them. Instead, she stalked them, poisoned them, and nearly buried one alive. She wore scrubs by day and kept secrets by night. Kayla Martin was no angel. She was a reaper in disguise. What are your thoughts on this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more stories, where each case isn't just about crime, but also offers a lesson for life.